There is a moment in life that almost no one prepares you for. It doesn't arrive with noise. It doesn't come with a final argument or slammed doors. There's no dramatic goodbye. It arrives quietly, usually late at night, or after a conversation that shouldn't have hurt, but did.
Again.
And in that moment, a thought forms slowly, painfully, honestly. I can't keep doing this to myself. Not because you hate them, not because you're angry, but because every interaction costs you something you can't afford to lose anymore. Your peace, your clarity, your sense of self. This is the moment society never names, because from the outside, it looks like betrayal. But from the inside, it feels like survival. We're taught from childhood that family is permanent, that blood outranks boundaries, that loyalty means endurance. But psychology asks a different question, one most people are afraid to confront. What happens when closeness becomes a form of self-abandonment? What happens when love is conditional, when approval is earned through silence, when belonging requires shrinking? Most people don't leave these dynamics. They adapt to them. They numb themselves. They become smaller versions of who they could have been. But a small percentage don't. They begin to notice patterns. How their body tightens before visits. How their voice changes around certain people. How confidence fades the moment they walk into familiar rooms. And awareness is dangerous, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. This video is not about anger. It's not about rebellion. And it's not about blaming parents, siblings, or family systems. It's about psychological clarity. It's about understanding why some people choose distance, not out of cruelty, but out of consciousness. Why silence becomes their strongest boundary. Why stepping back restores something explanation never could. And why the people who do this are often misunderstood, because they've stopped playing a role the system depends on. Stoic philosophy teaches that suffering is optional, but only after awareness. Modern psychology shows us that proximity without respect is not connection. So if you've ever felt guilty for protecting your energy, if you've been labeled cold for becoming calm, if you've noticed people react strongly when you stop explaining yourself, stay with me, because what you're about to understand isn't comfortable, but it is freeing. By the end of this video, you may realize something unsettling. That distance is not always rejection. Sometimes it's the first honest act of self-respect. Cutting off family shocks people for one reason. It violates a deep social myth. The myth says, blood equals loyalty. Shared history equals safety. Endurance equals love. But psychology doesn't work on myths. It works on patterns. And patterns reveal something disturbing. Many families are not systems of support. They are systems of control, emotional debt, and unspoken rules. Rules like, don't outgrow us. Don't challenge us. Don't heal faster than we're willing to. When someone breaks these rules, they don't get applause. They get guilt. And here's the key insight. Guilt is the primary tool of dysfunctional systems. Healthy systems allow separation. Unhealthy ones punish it. So when someone chooses distance, it threatens the entire emotional economy of the family. That's why the reaction is rarely curiosity. It's accusation. People who cut ties share one trait. That's rarely acknowledged. They've developed emotional self-awareness. They notice how conversations drain them, how their body tightens before visits, how their confidence shrinks around certain people. This awareness is dangerous to dysfunctional dynamics, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Carl Jung once suggested that what we do not make conscious controls us, and many families survive by keeping things unconscious. Trauma, resentment, favoritism, emotional manipulation disguised as concern. The person who becomes aware becomes the problem. Not because they're wrong, but because they're awake. And awakening is disruptive. Stoicism offers a brutal but liberating truth. You don't control people. You don't control their expectations. You don't control how they interpret your boundaries. You only control your actions.
Your energy.
Your participation. Many people stay in harmful family dynamics because they believe, if I just explain better, they'll understand. That belief is costly. Stoicism teaches, stop negotiating with what refuses to change. Distance is not punishment, it's non-participation. And that's why it works. The moment you stop reacting, the dynamic loses fuel. Silence is uncomfortable because it removes your familiar role. Maybe you were the peacemaker, the fixer, the one who absorbs tension. When you go silent, the system panics. Because now, conflicts surface, power shifts, responsibility returns to its rightful owners. And here's the psychological twist. People often accuse silence of being cruel, but silence only reveals what noise was hiding.
Something unexpected happens.
After people create distance, their energy changes. They speak slower, react less, explain nothing, and paradoxically, they become more magnetic. Why? Because self-respect is attractive, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Attraction energy isn't about charm, it's about internal alignment. When your actions match your inner truth, your nervous system stabilizes, and people feel that, even the ones you walked away from. Here's a psychological trap many fall into. They finally feel peace, and immediately feel guilty for it. This guilt doesn't mean you're wrong, it means you were conditioned. Conditioned to believe. Suffering equals loyalty. Endurance equals love. Boundaries equal betrayal. But real maturity asks a harder question. Why did my peace require permission? If someone needs you distressed to feel connected, that is not love. That is dependency. This is where psychology becomes practical. Life hack 1. Stop over-explaining. Explanations invite negotiation. Boundaries don't. Life hack 2. Watch actions, not apologies. Patterns don't lie, words do. Life hack 3. Measure cost, not history. Longevity does not justify harm. Life hack 4. Let discomfort do its job. Growth feels lonely before it feels free. Life hack 5. Choose peace repeatedly. Boundaries aren't a one-time act. They're a daily decision. Here is the truth few say out loud. Some people lose access to you, not because you're cruel, but because you've become expensive. Emotionally expensive, energetically expensive, self-aware. And not everyone can afford that version of you. Distance doesn't mean you stopped loving. It means you stopped abandoning yourself. If this video stirred something uncomfortable, good. Growth rarely feels like relief at first. It feels like recognition. And maybe the real question isn't, was I wrong for choosing distance? But, why did staying cost me so much? If this resonated, sit with it. You don't need to act today. Awareness is the first boundary. And if you want more psychology, stoicism, and self-mastery content,
Subscribe.
not to escape life, but to understand it more clearly. Silence has taught many what noises never could.